Life makes no sense. You're on a planet right now. You're on a space rock floating in nothingness, infinite nothingness, and the infinite nothingness is expanding. That means endlessness is getting bigger. That makes no sense.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to JG's Lounge. I do want to apologize ahead of time because I currently have pneumonia. I have since last Friday. It's been a roller coaster for me, and I'm not 100% yet, but I've been wanting to do a show for a while, and Stan knows that. And I've been doing a lot of reruns for the channel for everybody and getting a little bit more creative with it, as some of you have seen. But we're just going to continue to improve, and the content that we put out is always going to be just as good or better than it was every time we do shows. Evolution, man, how you doing tonight?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. Glad to be back on consistently and consistent with you.
Yeah.
I hear you struggling over there, but I know we're going to push through this. Just excited about it, man. Ready to keep it going. I love doing shows and just ready to hit it.
Dude, I'm I'm right there with you. Ready to hit it. That's a good phrase for the next one of these shows. Been a pretty busy week though, man. I mean, a lot of things going on. I feel like time is like literally just flying. When you hear the phrase "time flies by," like
yeah.
The older you get, the more you realize it.
Heck, man. I mean, we're already in week 2 of football already?
Yes,
it's crazy, man. It's
just and we don't talk politics. I did watch the debate the other night, and I feel like it was last night, but it was like a couple nights ago. I'm pretty sure it was like 3 or 4 nights ago or something like that. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But I swear I watched it last night.
Yeah, I watched it after the fact as well. You know, it's interesting.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you and I can do a little pre-recorded segment where we do discuss it. Like, just it doesn't have to be for a show, but we could talk about it.
Absolutely, man. I'm all for it. We can do that.
And we'll release it. And full disclosure, everybody. I mean, when we talk, and we want to hear other people's opinions. We're not going to sit here and point at any of you and say that you're right or wrong. So bring on the comments. We're all for them.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So for everybody who is familiar with Consistently Inconsistent, and for even those of you who are not, the way this show is, well, first off, they're inconsistent. We did one, I think it was 2 weeks ago that we did our last one. So we were kind of on point this time. The one before that, I think it was like 3 weeks, but we're still getting them out there, and they're a lot of fun. I like talking about them because we get to bring up different views of life phrases and life sayings that are common in the world, and then kind of just discuss our views on them and kind of come to a understanding on how each person views that same statement. And last time you went first, so tonight I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go first.
All right.
And the first one that I have is called beating a dead horse. If you've ever heard, and I don't know how much the younger generation will know this phrase, but I feel like it's still pretty common in society. Like, you can't beat a dead horse. As far as the history behind the phrase beating a dead horse goes, is back in like the mid 19th century, people who were struggling and had like weak horses and were trying to get them to do, the job of a healthy horse. You can't beat a dead horse kind of relates to that. Like, you can't expect that out of the horse. Beating them isn't going to get a point across, and they do. They beat their horses a lot back then. That's not, I think the modern day version of that statement is more along the lines of trying to go for something that you can't reach, or you can't succeed with. For an example, you're going to get your permit. Okay, you're in high school, you're going to get your permit. You're real nervous about it. You stayed up all night studying the night before for this test, and to do this. So you go in there, you're exhausted. You are just dead, exhausted, and you are damn near falling asleep during the test. It's like, I feel like that's kind of in a very simple way of putting that phrase. Like, you can't be a dead horse. Don't beat yourself to death to trying to get something, because you can wind up hurting yourself or hurting somebody else.
Interesting. I'm going to probably look at that slightly different.
Of course.
That's kind of what I do, right? Beating a dead horse, to me, is like doing the same thing and expecting different results, kind of like insanity.
Yeah.
Or, in the actual looking at what it, the phrase itself. I mean, what do you think is going to happen when you beat a dead horse? Nothing, right?
Nothing's going to happen.
So, yeah, I think basically for me, that phrase is saying, if you're doing something incorrectly, or the results that you're trying to get, you're not getting because of how you're, whatever direction you're trying to go to get to where you're going, it's not working, So you kind of like beating a dead horse, because all of your efforts are, not getting any results at all. It's just, you're just either chasing your tail or stuck in the mud, so to speak.
Yeah, and that actually, you bringing that up too, I mean, that's great. And this is, this is why we do the show. That explains what we do here on JG's Lounge. I mean, come on. If we just sat here and we just randomly posted shows and that was all we did, we didn't reach out to people. We didn't have anybody on. We didn't promote what we do. We did nothing. Like, if nobody knew that we were doing shows and we were just doing them and being like, where's everybody at? Why is there nobody watching our stuff? Like, you're not doing anything to change the circumstances. So you're beating a dead horse. I mean, it's what's the point of even, you might as well just do a phone call with somebody.
Or just do a recording and don't air it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the good thing about JG's Lounge, since you brought it up, is, I mean, we're constantly looking for new ways to promote what we're doing and expand on what we're doing, and reaching more people every time. So the good thing is we're not beating a dead horse.
Right.
But there are people out there who are.
I have enough pets as is. I don't need a horse.
Yeah, I don't do horses. Sorry, man.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. So that's basically what I got on that.
That's good, and I like our different aspects on how we view that too, because I think I think I see both sides. Like, so even if you I agree with your version as well as mine, and let's say even if you weren't to you at least you understand my view of it.
Absolutely.
Doesn't necessarily mean you agree with it, but you understand it.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think there's probably other ways to look at it. I'm sure other people might look at it a different way, but that's just how you take it in. You know what I mean?
Right.
All
right. What do you got for the first one tonight, man?
Ooh. I think this is going to jerk somebody's system, or a lot of people's system. I have, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. and I typically hear this a lot from women when they're talking to each other about maybe one of them is single, or several of them, or all of them are single, and they may be talking to one of the elders of women who have lived life a little bit longer and experienced things. It's kind of like a pep talk or some type of motivation for women to use a mechanism, I guess, or method to win somebody over.
Right.
But when I read that and listen to it and think about it, the first time I heard it when I was younger, I was like, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Huh? You know, I didn't get it. It didn't make it didn't make sense at the
Right.
time. But I guess to a degree, if you look at it literally like that, it could be true. But honestly, a way to a man's heart is not through his stomach. It's through truth, it's through honesty, and it's through respect, which a lot of single women have trouble doing and being.
Right.
Hey, you know, I call it how I see it. You know,
Yeah.
that's why I said it's going to shake a lot of people. But in my honest opinion, in my humble opinion, the way to a man's heart is through being truthful, being honest, and having a lot of respect for that individual, because that's, to me, how you show love to someone. I mean, somebody can say truth and honesty is the same thing, to a degree.
Right.
To a degree. What do you got, Jukebox?
Well, first off, I find a lot of it's almost like a comical relief kind of a phrase, because a lot of people say that all men do think with their penises. You hear that phrase a lot too, and a lot of, I feel like stereotypically men have always been viewed as majority pigs. And I hate to say that, because a lot of us are not like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're out there. A lot of you women find them. It's just how it is. I mean, I get why you say it. I'm not arguing that, but it's not true. So to hear somebody hear someone say that, it's through their stomach, it's a comical relief. It really is.
Yeah.
Because it takes away from that sex symbol ideology of what men all they think about, what I really think is the best way to a man's heart, and this is from somebody who has been in a very long marriage with its struggles here and there, which we all they have, is to accept that the man accepts who you are and accepts you as who you are. Like, I think, and I might get in trouble for saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyways, I think a lot of women expect to be what they see on screens, or what their projection of good is. And if they don't think they're good enough, and then they find flaw, if they think that their man isn't responding the way that they want, or doesn't view them a certain way, it causes a lot of arguments, and then it causes a lot of jealousy and all these other things. Like, well, if you can't talk to me about things like this, or you can't do this, then you're not, you're this terrible person. The reality is that it's not about what's on a screen to me. Like, and I don't think it's what men, I feel like social media has tried to drive this image, and then it makes relationships a struggle, because it's a false image, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, actually it does. I'm glad you said false image, because that's exactly where I want to go real quick. False image meaning a lot of women, when you hear them talk, they want to be treated and cared for and pampered and respected, like they look like a Halle Berry or a Beyonce or a Taylor Swift, when they maybe look the opposite. You know what I mean? They want a billionaire or somebody who makes a ton of money to take care of them, when they look like ghetto material.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So their thought process doesn't match their image, if that makes sense.
Right.
So even if you feed the person that you want a great meal, a wholesome meal, or whatever, something that tastes really good to them, it doesn't really mean that they're gonna actually give you their heart. You know what I mean?
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
No, it's food. I mean, you can be a good cook, but whatever. This isn't freaking 1920s where men come home expecting their meals on the table. You know, that's not how the world is.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's not a phrase that really matters. I mean, as a matter of fact, nowadays households can be split on how they eat. You know, you might have a vegetarian wife and the lactose intolerant child. It's not, I mean, it's not. I think it's a very false. At one point, it could have been a true statement, but it's long gone at this point. And I think a good way to kind of just tell, I want to be with the person who I met, and I want you to be positive in who you are. And if that starts to change, then there's, I mean, because of whatever it is, what it is, but like you need to be you and expect me to accept who you are and love you. And like I didn't get with you because I didn't want to be with you. Like there's and if I did, if it was for another reason, then I hope you find it out pretty soon.
Right. And I think you touched on something really strong there, Jukebox. A lot of women, for some reason, they know how to act to attract someone. They know exactly what to say to attract someone. They know how to present themselves, look, smell, attitude, you name it, in order to get someone that they find interesting, right?
Right.
The problem is, a week or two down the road, that effort severely declines, and then they start to display who they really are.
Right.
And when you bait somebody in and they think you're one way, and that's where their heart is. Their heart is focused on what was presented to them.
Correct.
Right. And then when you start to, or when the other person starts to gravitate to who they really are, that's when the guy's like, I didn't sign up for this.
Right. Right.
So it's really not about what you're putting in their stomach. It's about what you're putting.
Yeah. I mean, it's mind games, man. I mean, men are all about mind games, though. It's true. Like how you present yourself. Like that's 100%. If I fell for the person who I met, and that's you putting on an image or a front, don't expect me to be what you want, and then don't blame me for not being what you want.
Right. There it is. There it is.
And it goes both ways too. I mean, don't get me wrong. It definitely goes both ways.
Absolutely.
I grew up in a college town. I knew a lot of douchebags. A lot of people who knew the game. Man. They knew they could go to a club and they could find somebody and hurt somebody's feelings, and they would do it over and over again and without a care in the world. Yep. I know it's on both sides, so don't doubt me.
Yeah, it definitely swings both ways, man. But but wow, we got a lot out of that one.
That was a good one. I can keep going, but we have a few more to do so.
For sure, man. That actually turned out better than I thought it would.
Sweet. Good. Yeah, no, me too. That was a good draw. That's gonna be a good segment right there. This next one, Dog Eat Dog World. So a Dog Eat Dog World is a very bold statement, and it actually kind of plays off of what we were just discussing, I think, in a sense. Back in the 1500s, this was it's a proverb from back in the 1500s stating that dog does not eat other dog. However, as society has became more modernized, the term has became it's a dog eat dog world because of how vicious it's become. And so as a kid, somebody that hears that, I'm going to be confused as hell. I mean, if you were to tell me that after, I lost the science fair to this one kid that was just that much better than me, and I'm crying and I just want somebody to console into me, and you go, well, it's a dog eat dog world, I'm going to just cry a little bit harder because I have no idea what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, I think it's a good example. I think of something with the way that the world is today. If you have an idea, basically here's what it is. Let's say the dog is an idea, and you got the idea and you know it's worth something.
Mm-hmm.
And you prep it and you groom it and you have it ready, but you never do anything. Somebody else is going to come and snatch your idea.
Wow.
And it happens every day. And there's multi-billion-dollar companies out there that do it every day.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't have a patent on it? No, your fault. Like, and it's bad. It's a strong phrase. It has a lot of meaning to the way that society is today.
Mhm.
You and I can be like, well, we're for the people, and the reality is that people don't give two shits about you.
Mm.
It's like it's one of those hit in the face kind of phrases, where it's like, if you want this, make it happen. Don't just say you want it. What you got?
This is kind of how I'm going with this. Little different as usual.
Yeah.
Dog eat dog world. You go back 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it doesn't matter. Back then, people were more kind to each other. They were more, I'm not going to say sensitive to each other's needs, but people were there for each other. They treated people with kindness and with respect. And in other words, if someone was hungry, you fed them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If somebody needed a shirt, you gave them a shirt. Nowadays, people will take the shirt off of you. You know what I'm saying? And they'll eat a big plate of, heck, they'll go to all you can eat buffet in front of you and not give you anything. So it's kind of transformed into, to me, a dog eat dog world is heartless, careless. It's like the viciousness you were talking about, because a dog won't eat another dog.
Yeah.
But if a dog gets hungry enough,
it's gonna eat you and then blame it on the other dog. That's what it's gonna do.
Right. so it's definitely an aggressive statement, and it defines a lot of anger, and viciousness, like you said, when it comes to how people interact and treat each other. It's unfortunate, but that's how it is. I mean, look at, we were trying to stay away from politics. We mentioned it earlier, but I was actually thinking about that when I watched one channel, and it's all pro this candidate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then you switch another channel, and it's all pro the opposite candidate. You know what I mean? So it's like, no matter what's going on, no matter how awful one person can be, or no matter how poor a judgment can be of someone, or the track record, or you name it, it's just one side being fully supportive. I mean, they can go around with gasoline setting kids on fire. Oh, they're the best candidate. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not ridiculous,
oh my God.
right?
It is. Well, and it is. And let's bring it to this too. I mean, we're talking about politics. Let's talk about religion. They do it in religion.
Yes, it's the same.
You grow up Amish. Okay, cool. That's great. Your community, you live off the land. You're out in the middle of nowhere. You're born and raised in an Amish community. You never set foot outside that community, and that's all you know.
Yep.
And then one day, you see a car drive by, and your whole world just changed.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? Like it is like, if this is the way that it's same as politics. You only know what you see. So let's say you're a supporter of either side, and the only thing you watch is pro your side, and you're not seeing the other side. How are you going to have anything to wager on? Like, how are you going to defend your candidate without knowing the opposite side?
Exactly. Or the effort to even learn their side of their point of view, or even develop a willingness to even work with that other side. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely, man. That's another strong point you brought up. A nice angle, a really nice angle, because it's not just in politics; it's also in religion. It's probably in
Work.
different backgrounds, different jobs.
What do you think orientation is for work?
Yeah, you're learning the core values
Yes.
of that company,
Of that
and
company.
that's all that matters.
Yeah.
You got to do things their way, right?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's instilled or taught or infused in the minds of
Mhm.
the Americans. You know what I'm saying, or
Mhm.
whatever country you're from.
Right.
It's how you're taught to look at things. Wow, man, that was pretty
Yeah.
darn good.
That was good. These last two have been fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
What you got, man?
We're digging deep, man. We're digging
Yeah,
deep.
I like it. I like it. I like it. I missed it. I missed this.
Yeah, same here, man. So, did you want to go more in that one, or hit the next one?
I think to an extent, we made it seem like a very like I wouldn't say we made it seem like a negative, but a very strong statement.
Mm-hmm,
And I think we should keep the emphasis on how strong dog eat dog means.
Okay.
Because in order to succeed, you have to be dog eat dog. You have to be that, and not necessarily. You can live a comfortable life not being the top dog,
Mm-hmm.
which is a whole nother phrase, the top dog.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But these big corporate companies made it that way because their CEOs are dog eat dog. I mean, they
Yeah.
are these venomous serpents that want one thing, and that's that money. And they're digging into any way they can screw anyone over. And it doesn't matter. It's any big company. I don't care. They got there because they're dog eat dog.
Yeah, and they will do anything to get it, and then they'll do even more to keep it. Yeah, so that's definitely dog eat dog, because they're savage, man.
Mm-hmm.
They are hardcore savage.
I want let's look at this podcast game, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell you guys this, and then even you, Evolution, because I follow. So when I first started, the first year that I podcast, I didn't think I was going anywhere with it. I didn't. I just did it because it was something to do. COVID hit, whatever. Started following some Facebook groups. Okay. Found a couple channels with some networks, and I start watching them, and I'm like, okay, cool. I see why they got followers. Every one of these networks, like, they all are copying each other, and they're all doing the same things. And some of them that I started watching 3 years ago are dwindling, and they're starting to fall. And it's because they're not unique, you know? And I've got to a point lately where I started doing reruns because we have so much content, and I'm like, okay, cool, let's do reruns. But I'm like, how can I take that rerun and make it more interesting and improve it when I rerun it? And that's what, since I've been sick, I'm like, okay, so I'm developing as I'm continuing to reproduce the content we already have. I think the dog eat dog for JG's Lounge is that we are going to continue to be a network where we talk to people on a regular level. I see these networks that literally go on and bash each other, and that's all they do. I see networks that go on and they go live for 4 hours with no purpose to them. We have individualized shows with different concepts where sometimes we have guests, sometimes we don't. They all could be guest oriented, and then we give them the opportunity to be involved in the chat. That's what we stick with, and it's a strong thing that we do. I think that this network has purpose. It has a variety, which a lot of networks don't. And this is nothing against them. I strive to make JG's Lounge unique and somewhere someone wants to go hang out and be a part of a show and be a part of a group of people that just want to have a good time.
Absolutely.
That's what I got.
My next one I got is a quote that I heard from Jay-Z. Actually, he said it when he was receiving an award and threw it out towards Ludacris. But he said, "Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Um, and what I get from that is, yes, it can be a true statement if you look at it from one direction. Um, there are actually honest people out there
Yeah.
who do all they can to not tell a lie. Of course, you force somebody into a situation that it just you lie or you lose your life. You know what I'm saying? But they're few and far in between. But there are some truthful, honest people out there. Hard to believe nowadays, but as far as numbers actually can lie if they're the wrong number or if it's a false number.
Right.
And today it's happening like crazy. And the angle that I want to go on numbers being a lie is like when you're getting billed from a company.
Yes.
I'm sure there's a lot of extra on
Oh,
what you're being charged.
dude, this has
Instead
been
of
a conversation. I'm sorry. You'll let you finish. I'll let you finish. This has been a recent conversation with me and my neighbors, and I think I know where you're going with this.
absolutely, there's a lot extra on what you should be charged, honestly, for what you should be paying for. And I'm gonna say this real quick because there's the electric bill. If you go down the electric bill,
Yeah.
there's so many things that are listed that have absolutely nothing to do with electricity.
Right.
that you're paying for. And actually, there's a lot of it on there that they can't even explain what it is, right?
Dog.
And because trust me, I called and I asked them, "What does this mean? What is it? What are you charging me for? And why is it changing every single time? Where's my money going, basically?"
Mhm.
So yes, so this statement it can be accurate depending on what you're talking about, because yes, men do lie, yes, women do lie. Usually, if they're in the right place, numbers don't. However,
Yeah.
it's nothing that's etched in stone.
Right.
What do you got, Jukebox?
Man, that's this good, dude. What a hell of a show tonight, man. This is great. Okay, so as far as this being like a common phrase, I don't think that it's that common. Like I've heard it.
Uh-huh.
I don't think it's that common, but I do kind of like where you're going with this. Is kind of maybe an aspect for the show as well.
Mhm.
And men lie, women lie. Yeah, sure, we lie. People lie. We got it. It's cool. Yeah, people lie. Okay, got it. Money does, or numbers don't. Like it could go both ways,
Mhm.
and that could be in our industry and what we're doing on here. You have, let's say you have 16,000 views, right,
Mhm.
on a clip or a show,
Mhm.
and then you actually click on the analytics and it breaks it down.
Mhm.
I can go all day and say, "Hey, I got 16,000 people watch me," but really, what it is they scroll past my stuff. They didn't watch it; they scrolled past it.
Right.
Now, there's pros to that in the sense that still hits the algorithm. It still caught it as a view. It's still helping you,
Mhm.
but that the person didn't give a shit. They just scrolled past.
Right.
Then you have your current views.
Mhm.
You have your unique views. There's like 3 different categories of views, and it breaks it down, right?
Mhm.
And so they do get more accurate, but people can lie with numbers too. So
Oh, heck yeah.
it's like,
Heck yeah.
and
Heck yeah.
but the other end, you said something about numbers on bills, and yes, man, the electricity bill. And actually, there's something funny. Even there in our county, the county that you and I live in. Okay,
Mhm.
for those of you who know, me and Evolution work together. We're admins on the network together. We talk every day. We
Mhm.
live in the same county. There's a bill that the city was required to remove because of how pointless it was.
Wow.
And it's actually happening, I think, in the next month or 2.
Mhm.
But what you see is they're starting to tack it on to other things that don't matter either.
Mhm.
And yeah, we're having to call and complain too. And this is hospital bills. I mean,
Wow.
you want to talk about dog eat dog.
Mhm.
But I almost feel like this phrase can kind of tie into that statement, dog eat dog, and in a sense, because I think it would relate more not towards like your everyday citizens, like how we live our lives necessarily, but more on a business aspect
Hmm.
or view on things. And I'm sure even for Jay-Z, that's probably what he meant by that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was more of like from a business standpoint.
Hmm.
That I mean, there are so many things that you can. I can go down a bill from anything. It doesn't have to be the BPU or whatever, whatever. Not to call anyone out, even though I just did. Don't sue me. But and they'll just throw a random tax or a random fee, and like
Hmm.
80% of the population doesn't look at it. They just go, oh, bills are going higher.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't. It's frustrating. It's so frustrating.
It
Somebody who
really
goes
is.
out there and works as hard as we do and does what we do and still finds time to try to have time for ourselves to get turned around and get screwed on all that money that we work so hard and honestly for.
And
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Well,
It-
I was going to highlight, you said screwed and what we work so honestly for. That's that dog eat dog again, because I've been keeping track, back year, 2, 3 years ago, there was like service fees showed up, maybe $1. Then they jumped to $3 and then they jumped to $5. Now they're like $10 on some places. And the service fee I want to talk about is like, I like talking to people.
Mhm.
So I like call the company and do my business over the phone with a live person. They're charging for that now, So either you do it, you're like being forced to do it electronically for free, or you pay to talk to someone and have them do it for you. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm already paying the company, right?
Mhm.
And then you're gonna charge me to have someone live talk to me and help me. It's really, really a bad deal. A lot of this stuff really needs to get corrected. Go ahead.
So last Friday I started feeling sick and it
Mhm.
lasted through the weekend and I'm still feeling like I'm still not great.
Mhm.
So Monday, I think I was like, I'm gonna go get checked. And so I
Mhm.
went to a little walk-in clinic. I checked in. I was in there 15 minutes. Oh, we
Mhm.
need to get an x-ray, but we don't have it here. So I'm gonna give you this order, go to the hospital down the street. I go there, I'm like, oh, I just paid a copay. Do I need to pay another copay? No. Okay. So I was feeling pretty good about it. I sat there for
Mhm.
about 50 minutes just waiting to get a 30-second x-ray, man.
Wow.
But guess what? I didn't have a copay, but I got charged the whole time I sat there and waited for that x-ray.
Wow. That's why they did it. They gave you an hour. They made you be in the facility for an hour.
You see what I'm saying, man?
That is crazy. Wow. And that's the doctor hustle. They've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
They come in, they see you, they check you. They're there for what, maybe 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
They write out a prescription, and then they send you on your way.
Yeah.
You may get a shot. You may get some type of something to help you feel better at the moment, but
right,
you get a bill for like what, $500 to $1,000. Like, what did they do?
Right.
Those numbers are way off.
Right.
I should charge you for wasting my
Right.
time.
No joke, man. We should make it to where like they have to sync to our phone lines and then we can charge them so much the amount of time we sit in the waiting room.
Oh man, that would be great. A lot would change if that happened.
Yes. I guarantee we in and out.
You can't even get through the door. Oh, come on, let's get you in here.
Right. Big difference. I promise you things would change.
Heck yeah.
That's too funny. I think is it my turn? I think it's my turn.
Yeah, it's your turn.
That was a good one. You got anything else on that?
Actually, no, I'm good.
I think I do have to say, the more we discussed it, the more it seemed the same as Dog Eat Dog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything is kind of lining up.
Yeah.
And we don't do this on purpose. It just happens.
No, it just happens. It does.
That's our chemistry.
That's how we know this show works too.
Yeah, right.
And our chemistry. Yeah, like you said. So this next one for me, which plays right into what I just said, to add insult to injury. I was injured, and let me insult you by making you sit here and wait so I can charge you. So this phrase actually started from back in like the Romans and then back in the day when during fights and when warriors battled, they would mock and gawk each other, and then if they killed them, they would even make like a sarcastic response afterwards, which is where this phrase kind of came about. And man, the more and more this show is just kind of flowing, dude.
Yes, it
to
is.
add insult to injury. I mean, it works for everything in the world these days, and I think that's the prime example right there. Dude, when I was sitting in that waiting room, let me tell you, my shoulders ached. I could when I went to breathe in, my chest kind of like tight. Like I couldn't get a full breath. I was just like, and I felt like crap, man. I was coughing, and the more I coughed, my head hurt. And I knew I had I was pretty much 100% sure I had pneumonia. So I'm at this walk-in clinic. I'm like, okay, it's the copay's low. I'm sick as shit and I'm worried about money.
Right.
So I go somewhere cheap copay. I waited to be seen for a few minutes, but by the time I was back there, I was in and out. They're like, well, you need an x-ray. We don't have that machine. I go to the hospital, and I was struggling to sign in the paperwork, and the whole time I'm sick, man, they are just racking up that money off of me. They're like, okay. I think that's a prime example of adding an insult to injury. I think it could be taken from different aspects. I don't think that this phrase lacks any meaning. Like what it says is what it is. To go in for a job interview that you were told you were going to get. And then you get in there, you're confident, and they'd already had somebody else picked out, Wow. And that happens every day too.
It does.
Every day. Or they'll even absorb your job title and just let you loose. They will make you bust your ass for them so they can get everything they want, and then they just let you loose. And that's it's a very strong phrase that I think relates to anything outside of your personal comforts, like anything that you have to like priorities, things that you have to kind of have to go reach for. You can't expect things to always go the way that you want them, and sometimes you have to have the strength to accept that you will be put down. Like, I mean, that something that you're going for, or a goal that you want, might get shut down, and it might not be what you expected it to be. It doesn't mean give up on it.
Right.
There's that by no means does it mean that. I mean, if this is what you're passionate about, go for it. But understand that people don't see things the same way. They don't. And if you don't see it, then that insult to injury is going to happen a lot more than you think.
I agree.
What you got?
I'm actually going to play off of one of your statements when you were talking about back in the day when the soldiers was fighting and, kind of making comments as they were taking the other person out. I'm going to align that with sports today. That same mentality is so aggressive. It's like when somebody gets dunked on, or when somebody catches a football over somebody in the end zone. It's the taunting afterwards. You know what I'm saying? That they do that adds insult to injury, because nobody who's professional or even minor league or whatever wants to get insulted by somebody, coming up with this great move and doing it on them. That's bad enough. And you got spectators watching it either in the stands or on TV around the world. Right. And then all of a sudden they're in your face, or they're saying stuff to you afterwards. You're like, really? So most people go ahead.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I feel like I cut you off a couple of times. I didn't mean to.
That's okay.
When they go throw a touchdown and then they make a dance move.
Yeah.
Don't they get penalized for that now too, don't they?
Yes, they do. However,
they
they still do it.
That's just add more insult back at your bosses. We don't care.
Absolutely, because they got the money. They got the money. They get five to 15,000.
Right.
They're like, yeah, take it out of my advertisement fee, or take it out of my interview fee after the show. After the game is over. But yeah, man, things like that. And even like you said at work, people can say some pretty harsh things. It's not as bad as it was back in the day. I mean, I remember days where people just, somebody's new or, trying to get the job down, trying to learn. And there are people like, dude, you suck. Either you get it right, or you just got to leave. We're going to get rid of you. But they don't do that anymore. They try to work with you, try to educate you the right way, give you a chance to build up to that. But, yeah, man, a lot of that insult to injury is still around, and people do it all the time, whether it's work, sports, or an actual event, fight. I mean, look at these boxers. Speaking of boxing, I think Canelo Alvarez boxes tonight. They do it the worst. They're like in each other's face.
It's a game anymore, man. It's like it's a filthy dog game.
Yeah, but they use it to boost excitement and build sales and build anticipation toward the event, so they can raise all kinds of crazy money because people gravitate towards that. It's ridiculous, but people like that stuff. It's just
true.
That's what I got. What you got?
Yeah, no, dude. I think we did a good job in that. I think that every bit of its meaning has strength to it, and it really just falls along into today's episode. I feel like both of our picks, feel like each episode we have found ways to kind of, I don't know, absorb them into like a specific kind of like direction each episode.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because you pick your three. I don't even know about it.
Yeah.
And then I pick my three. I don't know about yours. So
yeah.
It works. It just works.
It does. I agree. The show's working. I love the direction it's going. I don't have more to add insult to injury. I think that so far I'm happy with the ones that we've done so far. I'm excited to see what you got last.
Was that your last one?
Yeah. Well,
all right.
Hey, we're already at 50 minutes, man. We've been like we went strong with each one of these.
Heck yeah. So my last one is don't bite the hand that feeds you. So how I want to start out with this is even animals have enough sense to know not to bite the hand of the owner that's feeding them and taking care of them. However, people aren't smart enough to not do that.
Right.
People get taken advantage of all the time. Kids take advantage of their parents. Significant others take advantage of the other significant other. Even at work, some employees take advantage of the environment and what's going on. You name it. It's just people are trying to get away with things that they shouldn't, or they attack those who are actually there to help them benefit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that term says a lot, actually, that saying, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Because, I mean, I remember, this is kind of off subject, but I remember my son, when he was a baby, an infant actually, he would like drop the teether one way or the other, and I would be so tired that I would just stick my finger in his mouth and let him bite down on my finger, because it didn't hurt, it's just a little pressure of him, just like going at it. Right. And then And I lost track of time one time, meaning how old he was getting.
Yeah.
And I fell asleep while he was doing. I was kind of nodded off. I still had him because I propped myself up a certain way. And I be doggone, dude. He bit through his gum, and that little baby tooth was so razor sharp. And I mean, just
Oh my God.
you talk about somebody wanting to throw a baby across the
You wouldn't be able to. He's latched on.
room. Dude, that hurt so bad. I'm like,
man.
oh, I can't wait till you get older so I can
man.
bite you back.
They don't know what's going on.
No, man, it was something, but
Yeah.
that kind of reminded me of that moment when I think about that, because
Yeah.
of course, I was just trying to, keep the baby occupied, after the teether got dropped on the floor.
Right.
But the baby was doing what the baby does, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're irritated, they feel that, and they just bite down on stuff. So
Right.
bit down on dad, that one. What you got, man?
I look at this from a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I grew up from a very rough upbringing, and like the whole "don't bite the hand that feeds you," I think is strength in a sense. Like, I always lean towards. I knew I could go more towards my mother when I had issues, obviously more than my father, because she was the hand that fed me. But as you get older and you start realizing sometimes that the hand that feeds you wasn't always your strongest, whatever person or hand that you should be going to. So I think that being aware of the hand that feeds you makes more sense, at least from my view. Because let's use a different example. You could take a handful of scraps out in an alleyway and lure in a dog and feast on it because you're starving. It's like being aware of the hand that feeds you, I think, is a very strong statement with the way that for some people, like, if you're somebody who were raised by a proper family, as I wish everybody was, then yes. But I think that there are flaws in that statement once you have enough consciousness and understanding, depending on the environment that you're in. Does that makes sense? I think that there's a lot of opportunity nowadays to reach out for a better hand when it's needed. And then those of you who watch this, if I make a clip out of this, hopefully you know what I'm saying when I say it. I think that the way that evolution said it is 100% accurate, but I think it's accurate to a group of people that were raised in a more modernized family situation. I don't know if I'm wording it the best way, but are you getting kind of the aspect I'm coming from on it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And even that goes with business. The hand that feeds you as an adult, the hand that feeds you is the money that you make, or the person who you're with whose money they make. Maybe you're the one that stays at home. I don't know, but I think that you can live your life that way and make it to the top. You can be a corporate boss and have 3 kids at home and a wife. And you're like, man, I'm the hand that feeds this house. But the reality is you got a broken house because you spent too much time at work.
Ooh,
because that hand that fed you got you, you were so sucked on it, and so I think there's different routes you could take that phrase. I think it's a great phrase.
Yeah.
But I think there's very different ways they'll view it.
I agree, man. I like the angle you took with how that particular hand that was feeding the boss at work was luring him away from his family. You know what I'm saying? So got to be cautious on what hand you're feeding from, right?
Yeah. I think that's a strong one. And I think that's a good view for it. On top of the way that you said it, because sometimes that hand might feed you a bit too much to get what they want, and then you lose what really matters.
Ooh, man. Yeah, I agree. Very nice. Very nicely done. Wow. What do you think, man?
I think this whole episode's been wow, man. I'm actually, they've all been good episodes, but I really love how this one went down. I think we found some very strong phrases,
Mhm.
and I love that we do this where we don't tell each other what they are until like the minute, like right before, because we can't like play off of it, and somehow it still kind of works.
Absolutely.
Dude, this is a hell of a show. This is a great episode.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It turned out way better than I expected, so I'm happy. Yeah.
And I think, and I'd like to every now and then maybe bring a guest on too to bring in another viewpoint.
Yeah.
It's our show, but I think it's cool to kind of get like how you and I do it, where we bring our different views on the same phrase. It's exciting, man, because like I don't expect your views on how you say, what of the same statement. And then like I might say something like, and then you're like, oh man, that's good. Like, cause we don't, you don't think about it.
Right.
So
yeah, it works, man. I like that idea.
Yeah. And that's it, everybody. I mean, for another episode of Consistently Inconsistent, man, we hit the hour mark, and I could tell you, I don't think a minute of it was anything less than great. It was good.
Hey, I think you did a great job, and I just followed your lead.
That's how we do it, though. Like we alternate. We know each episode. Well, you lead it, I lead it.
Yep, that's it.
And this is another thing that we do here on JJ's Lounge, man. I'm like, I got like 5 shows. What am I going to do? It doesn't, it doesn't have to be consistent exactly. If we're doing them on the same network and we're doing shows and we're consistently putting out content, I'm happy, man. I love doing this stuff.
Yeah, it's great.
And tell everybody, everybody's been watching, everybody's been tuning in. We appreciate all of you. And always feel free to tune in the comments. We love bringing people in as far as through the comments as well. And until next time, we'll see you guys around.
Take care.